Hey everybody, today we're taking a look at 8 different games. Small to large, good and bad. A nice mix in here. There's like nothing that's similar about these games from one to another. So here we go, from the smallest game to the largest game. Let's get started. First we have Hens. What a weirdly named game, right? Like just Hens. And that's what this game is. You're trying to put cards down into a grid to get the best prize hens. That's what you're doing. You're breeding hens, but it's basically a card-laying game. Here's how. In this game, you're playing with a deck of hen cards that are made up of various types that are numbered from 1 to 6. They have eggs on them, and some eggs are worth medals. There's a little chart here that shows you all of them. Each player is going to start with 4 of these cards. You'll play with a few less of the breeds of hens if you have fewer than 4 players. You'll also start with 1 gold card. So on your turn, you have 4 cards. First thing you'll do is you'll draw 2 cards. You can draw from the top of the draw pile, or you can draw from other people's discard piles, because each player will have their separate discard piles. You're then going to play a hen in front of you, and then you discard a card to your own discard pile. So you draw 2, play 1, discard 1. In the future, each hen that you play must be adjacent to the hen that you have, and you'll have a grid of 4x3 or 3x4 because you're playing 12 cards over the course of the game. If you're adjacent, though, you have to be the same color, or it has to be a number that's 1 higher or 1 lower if you're going to a crossbreed. If you're going next to 2 hens, you'd have to be next to both of them. So this 3 can go next to the 4, but can't go next to the 6, while this 5 will fit in there just fine. So what you're trying to do in this game, halfway through the game, when you play your 6th card, you're then going to put a rooster token onto your board. So you're going to be drawing 2, playing 1, but you'll place a rooster on what you will hope to be your second biggest group. At the end of the game, your biggest group, and this is a small, you'll have a 4x3 like I said, your biggest group will give you 1 point for every egg. Your rooster group will give you a point for each egg if it's not your biggest group. You'll also get 2 points for every 3 medals that you have. You'll get points for basically these meeting the criteria on the gold card, or both goals if possible. And sometimes you'll be forced, because you're forced to play a card every time, if you don't have a card that you can play legally, you'll be forced to play them face down, and those are minus 1 point at the end of the game. Most points is the winner. I really dislike hens. Like, really dislike hens. It's just not interesting to me at all. You are playing hens down, and they're like, you want to have eggs, you want to have a big group and then a second smaller group, and you want to get the trophies, and you want to meet the requirements of this card here. But in reality, you just want to be able to play your cards. The game gets incredibly boring as it goes farther because, yes, you can draw cards off other people's discard piles, which happens all the time, since better the cards you know than random cards you don't know. And you're just, can I place the card at all is the thing. And it doesn't feel like there's any strategy, anything to it. Add a boring theme on top of that, I really dislike this one. 4 out of 10, just not very enjoyable. I know some people might like it, but there are so many games where you're building grids of stuff. Building a grid of hens and with strict placement rules, but not very interesting. I just didn't like it. Trickdraw here. You are a magic flipping cowboy. This is from Good Games Publishing, and this is a card where you're playing good cards in front of you and you're flipping cards back and forth. I mean, literally, there's a lot of flipping in this game. I'll show you. Trickdraw is made up of a deck of cards, and you'll notice that these cards all say 1 point on the other side of them. And what you're going to be doing on your turn is you have the opportunity to play a card in front of you. Now, you can play it face down for a point if you want to, or you can play it face up. Some cards like this one say once per turn, I can discard a card from my hand to flip any card. I could flip someone else's card. I could even flip this card and make it to a point near the end of the game. So there's going to be a lot of cards that have things to do that. Like this one here is worth 3 points if over half of your cards are flipped face down. There are cards like this one that say rally. They're worth 1 point for every other rally that you have. This is an ongoing that says your cards have 1 less discard. But then you have things like this. I might put this down and someone else will flip it face up to get rid of the point. And it says choose up to 3 of your face up cards. Flip them face down. Someone else just got busted by doing that. And there's cards that you can go after other people to steal their face up or face down card. And then you can flip it. And so what you're doing in this game is you are either going to play a card, and also whenever you play a card, any card that's once per turn, you can activate them. Or you draw 2. But if you draw 2, you do nothing else. Once somebody gets to 10 points, when someone gets to 10 points, whether the points are from rallies or, there's all sorts of cards that are going to give you various points. When someone gets to 10 points, it's going to trigger the end of the game. Whoever triggers the end of the game gets 2 more free face-down cards. And then everyone else gets 1 final turn. Then you compare points. Anybody who is tied is eliminated, cannot win. And then whoever has the most points after that is the winner. Alternatively, there are some cards. The Key, the Treasure, and the Temple. If you ever get 2 of these face up in front of you, you win. Yeah, so you might be surprised that I enjoy this game. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I like Trickdraw. I think it is a fun, simple game that has a very definitive ending. So a big problem with a lot of these games, say Munchkin, is that the game can go on and on forever. Here, you're going to play cards, and you're going to get 10 points in front of you. Yes, I might get to close to 10 points, and you cause me to flip some cards face up, but some of those cards might have points on them. It's going to happen. The game is quick, it's fast, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It has the fun side thing of get 2 of those cards and play them face up in front of you. So you might have them both face down and just waiting for the chance to flip 3 of them face up. There's some fun stuff like that in this game, and it's not going to be particularly heavy or a big game, but I find it to be entertaining and enjoyable. So Trickdraw. Sidequest 7 Seas is one of a couple, or there's at least 2 or 3 of these side quests out there. I see there's a Nemesis one there on my shelf that I haven't got to. They're based on other games. 7th Sea, obviously, a role-playing game with pirates and all. And so let's take a look at this one. It is an escape room game. In this game, I'm going to try not to spoil too much stuff for you. I'm going to show you this start here thing. You have a hints page that will give you hints about things. You might be building something like this. I'll put these in here in the side of the box, and you'll be looking at the side for clues like that. There is an entire deck of cards that you'll be going through. Like you might find this card here, a blocked chapel door. It says you need to find something that fits in a hole. If you have a door handle, take card 10. This is card 9. So there are various things like that that you will find in this game. Now, there's going to be puzzles in this game, and I don't want to spoil what those puzzles are. But what I can show you is how a puzzle is shown to be correct. So on this board here, we'll put this out like this. Whenever you have a puzzle, you're going to have 4 answers to that puzzle. So you'll see this yellow thing here has a 5 on it, has a rune, and it's also yellow. So let's say I'm doing puzzle G, and I think that the answer is 5. The first digit's 5, or yellow, whatever it is. I connect that with G. Then you'll see there's a bottom symbol here. So let's say I think the next one here is this 7. So I'd put that like that. Then the next one I say is 0. So I put that one down like this. And then I think the final one is 6. So I put that there. Now, I'm going to look at the symbol in front of each of these. If it's all the same, then hey, I solved it correctly. And then I look where this one points down to, and 14 would be the next card I would grab to continue on. Now, obviously this isn't correct because those are not the 4 symbols, and that's because I also put them there by themselves. But you'll see there are various puzzles here. There's also going to be a final showdown, which I don't want to spoil. But that's a little bit about how the game plays. So I don't really care for this one. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. And there's a couple reasons for that. So my initial rating for this is a 6 out of 10, and that's based on the puzzles. The puzzles are okay. There was one puzzle where I was like, how on earth were you supposed to know that? But that happens with most escape room games. I don't mind that. The hint system's okay. The solving of the puzzles, I really didn't like that. To put those little tokens there and line them up, it's too... all these games are always kind of trying to find like, hey, we'll find a new way to solve it. We can't use the wheel because exit did that. We can't use the app because unlock did that. And the game said, so now we're going to put these in a line. The problem with putting those in a line is sometimes I put 2 or 3 in and I know what the 4th one is because I can see the symbols there. I'm like, well, then this one obviously goes there. I'm not trying to cheat in that way. It's just there. It's so obvious sometimes. like, let's say you're doing the combination and you go 1 and the next one's 4 and I put the 4 and I'm like, well, that's wrong already. So we just, okay, I don't know. I just found that part not to be particularly interesting. Also, putting runes and stuff isn't helpful when I'm like, okay, what's next? And they're like, the rune that looks like an upside down 7, and then the one that looks like this. Just put letters or something in regard. I'm tired of these runes because the communication about runes isn't particularly fun. Now, anyway, like I said, it's okay. It's okay in that regard. I didn't find the puzzles. I also didn't find the ending of this game. This game has like a dramatic ending. I didn't find that to be particularly interesting, but whatever. The writing, though, I hate everything about it. The writing thinks it's hilarious. It is so very funny. At least the person who wrote it thinks it's funny. And this might be a personal preference thing. I just got really tired of it after a while. It just was the whole concept of the, oh, what? I blew that building up? I don't know. Maybe they were going for Jack Sparrow or something. I just was not impressed by that. So can't really recommend this one, especially in the glut of really good escape room games that are out there. Cubed is a gorgeous game. That's basically try dominoes, or a game like dominoes. In fact, the game isn't saying that. It's like saying, hey, enhance your dominoes with this modern take on the classic game. All right. The game comes in these really cool trays with the different hexagons placed in there. They look cool. And I'm leaving them in the trays for now, except I took out one tray. You're going to put them all in the bags. You're going to shuffle them, and each player is going to get a certain number based on the number of players in the game. First player puts a hex in the middle of the table. The next player will attach a hex to that. Now, this is important, and this is something that's going to be a little tricky here. You always put the same height next to together. So this is not allowed. It's hard maybe to see on the camera angle there, but even though those are both sides of hexagons, it has to look like this, and you also have to match the color. Once the second one's out, you have to match both sides of something. So I could play this not there but I could play it like this. So you see, that matches both. It's pink and pink. And now I have this indented triangle. Once a third piece is played, you're allowed to play what are called blocking pieces. That is this one here. A blocking piece, when that's connected to something, the black pieces here, nothing can touch them around the outside of them. You can also decide to play without blocking pieces if you want to. So then I might be able to play this one here. That works nicely. And you keep doing. If you cannot play one as you're placing these pieces down, then you have to draw one from the bag. But other than that, the first person to get rid of all their tiles gets 0 points, and everyone else is going to get points equal to the tiles that they still have. And it's basically like dominoes, really. Yeah, so Cubed is essentially dominoes with a 3D thing. Now, sometimes this is, again, fantastic game to feel, tactile, look, great, love it. But one of the problems with it is that putting those down, you have to put the high parts next to high parts and low parts to low. And that says, it's easy. You'd be amused at how many people did that. Also, I think the pink colors, if you just look at one tile, the pink on it, if you put them next to each other, it's obvious. But if you're just looking at it, you might go, oh, that doesn't go there. These are different pinks. It's dominoes, though. That's really what it is. You place the tile if you can fit it. You don't if you can't. That's fine. It's an amusing, small-time game. Not particularly for me when I want to play all the time. I give it a 6. I like the production. I like everything, about it. It'd be a nice gift to give people. Well, I don't think the cover is great, but everything inside is great. Yeah, it's fine. If you like dominoes, you might like this. Almost Words. So in this game, in Almost Words, you are building funny clues that you're trying to get other people to pick, but you're using letters that can be rotated in a variety of directions. Look at it. In Almost Words, players are going to have 10 tiles that they'll be drawing from a bag. Now you'll note that these tiles look like they could be letters or numbers or whatever you might think that they could be. You're going to shuffle the deck and draw this jellyfish, and one person is going to be the judge. Oh, jellyfish is a hard one. So I have to make something that the judge will think. All right, so bro, I can't think of anything for jellyfish. Getting presents. Ooh. Bro seeks. And I'm going to put these down here and call both of these presents. And that's the thing. You can take any of these. I can say that's an M. I can say that's a W. You can say anything is any letter or a number or whatever you want it to be. This could be a B or a Q. You can do all kinds of weird things. And you just have to convince the judge that your thing will win that card. And then you win. And then the next person goes. Bubble baths and Halloween costumes. They gotta be honest. They didn't put any kind of effort into these topics at all, unfortunately. But the letters is where the interesting part of the game is. Unfortunately, I have to give this one a 6 rather than a 7. And the reason it doesn't get approved is because the category cards, as you saw, are so very weak. That's a big deal in any kind of party game. If you're making all the cards, you're going to do all that. You need to make them good category cards. In this one, they're not. The flipping of the letters, rotating is good, although sometimes you're just like, I can't think of anything. You need to be a little bit creative, but we have laughed quite a bit at this game. There's been some really funny moments, and I give it credit for that. And it is fun to try to rotate the letters and see what you can get. It's just that, come on. Who made these categories? That kind of brings it down a bit. Some of them are work, but a lot of them don't. So that kind of makes this a little bit more ho-hum of a party game. Robo Factory. The easiest way to describe Robo Factory is to say that it is deduction for kids. Now, it's not quite a kid's game. It's more of a family-style game, but you're trying to figure out what the robot looks like that the customer wants. Players are going to take turns being the customer. The customer is going to secretly put a robot card face down on the table where no one else can see it. And then they're going to place 3 face-up cards here on the table. Then, they're the only person who can see the card. I know you can see it in this example. They're going to put a number that shows how many parts match the one that's there. So, that one matched 1 part. The middle one matches 1 part. This one matches 2 parts, right? Now, each player has their own factory board. They're going to have 3 pieces, head, torso, and legs. And they can also have a sheet, which is going to help you figure things out. So, for example, I know for sure, since this one has 0 and it has the same head as this one, I know that these 2 are there, which means, since there's 1 here, I have it figured out, because I'm smart. So what I'll do is, I know that the head is blue, the torso is green, and the legs are blue. I put them here. Now, since I know this for sure, I'm going to spend my Eureka token. Each person has one of those. That works because you're going to get some energy cubes. These are points, basically, if you get it correct. But if you use your Eureka token, you'll get even more. But you better be sure if you know that. Otherwise, if I was incorrect, in this case, I'm correct. If I'm incorrect, the person who's the customer will give me a number showing me how many pieces I have correct or incorrect. And you go on. Each person's going to get to be the customer 3 times. At the end, whoever has the most points is the winner. Nice components, really simple deduction. As you saw, the way that those came out, and that was just luck, I could figure it out. But you often can't figure it out. There's 1 from this one, 1 from this one, and 1 from this one. Okay, but which one? You know, but I would consider this to be intro-level deduction. And for that, it works. It's fun. Like I said, it works with kids, works with adults. You're just sitting there doing your robots. You guess. You can really guess, I know what it is. And overall, I think it's amusing. If you're a big fan of deduction games like me, I'm a huge, my big crunchy deduction games. This ain't one of those, but it is a way to get someone maybe to dip their toe into that water. So for that, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Amritsar, or Amritsar, I apologize if I mispronounced this. This is it's the Golden Temple from India. And in this game, you are building this beautiful thing. I would love to see this in real life. It looks fantastic. Now, realize that this is going to be a big Euro-style game with lots of things. Let me show you a bit of it. I'm going to go over only a few things in this. I'm not going to be giving you a full overview of the game. I'm just showing you a few of the main conceits of the game. You're going to be moving your elephants around, and what you want to do is make donations. You'll make donations in different spots to get points, and each round of the game, the donations will be more valuable or having the most donations in a spot. You're going to need resources to do these. There are 3 different resources included in this game. And what players are going to do on their turn is you're going to move your elephant, and you can move them around the outside here. You can always move 1 space, but you'll have to pay coins to move them farther. And if you pass wherever the Maharaja is, you'll have to pay points to go past them. But you want to get your elephants in spots and pick up these cubes to be able to drop them down here. After you move your elephant, you're then going to pick a group of people here, and you'll move them one at a time, dropping one off in each section. Wherever you drop the last one off, you will do the main action of one of these tiles. So for example, I could take 2 coins here. I could do this action. There's various actions that will happen. And then you look at the color you drop there, and if there's a color that matches that, in this case yellow, I can do this secondary action. And if your elephant is there, then you could do another one of the main actions. So if you set it up right, you can do multiple actions. A lot of what you're doing is you're upgrading your main board that you have here. You're going to have trackers here where you're going to keep track of things. This is track of your taxes, which you'll have to pay after each round. You can lower your taxes. Here you get resources. Here you have all sorts of special abilities. You also have a storage space here to store more, to store the different goods. 4 is not a lot, but you're going to be able to upgrade these by adding more storage spaces from the side. They'll each have storage here, but they also might have some sort of special ability. They also might increase your taxes. You'll have these at the top. Whenever someone activates that color worker, you get to do that action. Everyone starts with 1, which is making a donation, but I can add more of these so that I get to do an action after everyone else goes. And then there's even more tiles that you can place here in the bottom. So this game is all about upgrading. You'll get a second elephant movement on a turn if you upgrade this section here. There are so many different ways to upgrade, which is a lot of the building actions that you will see on the side here. And you can see the color of the hammer also shows the resources you use to do those buildings. There's a lot more than that, but it is all about building the temple. You're going to be slowly building this central temple, and when that's done, whoever has the most points is the winner. There's much more involved in that, but hopefully that gives you an idea of the basic gist of the game. Like I said, there's a whole lot more going on in the game than that, but essentially the game is a Mancala thing, where you're moving your elephant around, and you have to decide whether you want to pay points and things, but then it's about picking up the workers and moving them. And that's the kind of the meat of the game, that one action. Because this game isn't particularly a game that has a lot of complexity to it, but it kind of branches off in paths. I move here, and then these are the 3 actions I take. I'm trying to manage resource. At the beginning of the game, you have this very small, you can only hold 4 resources, so I need to use those to build things. So I build the more storehouses first, or I build the other actions that I can take on other people's turns, and that's where the game's just fascinating because it kind of spirals out. For people with analysis paralysis, it's going to be tough because they're going to always want 3 actions, right? You always want to go to where your elephant is and have the color, and so you get 3 different actions. It just doesn't always work out, and or those 3 actions may not be optimal. 2 actions over here might be better, and looking at all the different possibilities, you sit there and go, come on, make a move already. So be careful who you would play this with. But I found it to be fascinating, especially in the customization of your board. I got 3 tracks I can move up. Ooh, which one am I going to push? Am I going to even push moving up the tracks? Or am I going to build the storehouses? Or am I going to put down the different endgame scoring things? Or putting out the tokens that let me go on other people's turns? It just feels like I can make my board mine. And I enjoy that part of it. It's a little slower and slightly longer than I would like. The pieces are gorgeous. Those big elephants are neat, and putting cubes in those as you slowly are removing cubes from your board, putting them in the elephant and walking that elephant around. I love stuff like that. So I enjoyed this one. I'd give it a 7.5. A beautiful cover, cool theme, barely recognized in the game, but it's still there, right? And then just kind of this become your own board by the end. That stuff is fun. Pueblo, I have here. This is the new version of Pueblo. Pueblo, this is from Mojito Games, they're taking older games and reprinting them. They often take older games that look great and reprint them looking great, but with some minor production flaws, it always seems. And unfortunately, this one is not any different. I'm going to also show you this Pueblo. This one here is from Korea. So you have a chance to see what this version, this is from Popcorn Games or Platy Games, whichever company. Anyway, these both play the same. I already enjoy this game. That's not a secret. I like it. Let's see how these play. In this game, each player is going to be a specific color, and you don't want to get points. Players are going to have some blocks in front of them. They'll have a block of their color along with a neutral block, and you'll put these in front of you. And on your turn, you pick one of these, and you'll place out either your color or the neutral color. Then next turn, you do the opposite. So when you place it out, maybe orange, so I put it here. You always have to make sure all the parts of the block and every shape is the same. It's the same shape. it has to be down. I can't do this, for example, because nothing's underneath that. You have to touch surfaces with it and place it. Once you're done placing your block, you then can move the chief up to 4 spaces. So let's say I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's spin this here and look at it. You then are going to get points based on what the chief can see. So here the chief can see a pink block on level 1, which will give pink 1 point. And they can see a pink block on level 2, which will give pink 2 points. By the way, this scoring track here is terrible. You have to keep switching these back and forth. I don't know who approved it. It's bad. And also, as a negative note for this particular production, some of the blocks are not glued together properly, which is just, come on now. Anyhow, you can move them differently, but you kind of want to give other people points because points in this game are bad. If you land on the corner, you take a snapshot from above of that quadrant, and you simply get 1 point. So in this case, in this quadrant, blue would get 1 point and yellow would get 2. Obviously, you don't want to put blocks all the way up here because these are going to give 3 points and 4 points if the chief sees them. This is going to continue until all the blocks are placed. Once all the blocks are placed, wherever the chief is, they will then move 1 space at a time and give points for every spot around the board. And then whoever has the least points is the winner. There are ways to make the game harder, and I highly recommend you play with like the sacred ground pieces. You put some of these out at the beginning of the game, and then you can't place on top of them, which makes the game trickier and more difficult. Let's take a look here at this version of Pueblo. This one is in a magnetic box, so the board itself is here in the middle. Everything's smaller. The blocks are still not perfect as you put them together, but they are a better quality, and they're just smaller. So the scoreboard is over here. This is the main board of the game. And then the blocks, everything. Now you're going to have to put everything in here in a very neat order to get everything to fit in this box. But I just want to show you this version of the game, which is from Korea, as opposition to this one. I give Pueblo an 8 out of 10. This one here, I'll give a 6. Unfortunately, I find the components to be that annoying. The fact that the blocks aren't glued together is a pain, but even more of a pain, that is possibly the worst scoring track I've ever seen in my life, because you literally have to take your triangle and flip it back and forth. What? So I have the original Pueblo, which has plastic blocks. That's fine. I get that wooden is better in many situations, but if they're gluing them together, I don't love it. This one is a better game. I like this one, a nice small package. And so this one is the one I would keep out of the two of these, and so I'll give this one the 8. Pueblo is a really good game. I highly recommend you play with those tiles that you start at the beginning, because that forces things to go higher. But using your block and trying to hide your blocks in the pile, that's what you're trying to do, and cover them with the neutral blocks or hide them behind your opponent's pieces. Some fun thing, the fact that every piece is the same works really well. The whole thing comes together in a really fun abstract game. So that is Pueblo. And that's it, folks. Lots and lots. Like I said, these games don't seem to have a whole lot in common. But hey, there's a gazillion games out there. If you'd like to see short reviews of games, you can check these again. I'm going to split these into different videos on Dice Tower Encore. Check out Dice Tower Encore, and you can find these videos there. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching 8 quick reviews here on the Dice Tower. We'll see you next time.